So here's the sock I'm working on. You can see that I've finished the cuff and the heel flap and the small heel, and then we're going to start on the instep. So in the instructions I said to finish on a knit row, so that just means that when you've got 6 stitches on each side of your marker, then you're done turning the heel, and we finish by knitting all the way across. You want to keep your marker in the middle, so when you get to it, just slip it over because you're going to need that a little bit. So just keep it there. There we are. And now I'm going to change colors just so that you can see how the instep is different than the rest. So I'm making a slip knot, slide the old color into the slip knot, and make sure that you pull the new color all the way up to the knitting so it's touching before you pull the 2 tails apart. So if it slides out here, that won't work. Make sure that it stays right up there, and you should feel a little pop. There it goes. And now we're ready to start picking up stitches for the instep. So we need to pick up 11 stitches along the side here. You can kind of see how they are. They need to be spaced evenly along, and you don't want to leave a hole on either end. So sometimes you never know what's happened. You might need to skip a stitch or not, but it's kind of almost one in every stitch. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to do it with a knitting needle. It's super easy with a crochet hook, but this is what I have handy. So I'm sliding the needle through the first stitch and scooping the... Sadly, the video that I had made for you last November about picking up stitches got lost in the fray. So I'm going to add just one little piece here of how to pick up stitches. And then you're going to have to apply that to the sock. So I am going to pick up stitches going down. This is a totally different project, but I'm going to pick up stitches going down this edge. You want to slide your needle under 2 of the strings right on the edge and slip it under onto your needle. Then we'll go to the next one, like that, all the way down. It's also really easy to do with, actually much easier to do with a crochet hook. So if I was going to do it with a hook, I would go this way. Again, you want to get 2 strings so that it'll be really secure, and then pull it through that way. Then when you get all of the stitches you want, we're going to use 11 onto the crochet hook. Then all you need to do is slide your needle into them, and Bob's your uncle. Hope that makes sense. So you can see I've got 10 stitches that I've picked up, and this will be my last one right in here for this side. All right. Now we need to get another needle and knit across to the other side. We're just straight knitting now. Okay, now you can see that we've got 3 needles going. We need 1 more for this side. So, again, we want to pick up 11 stitches going down this side of our heel flap. I like to start pretty close on the first one so I don't get a hole right there. Sometimes you do get a hole right there, but you can always sew it up later if you want. So I'm just sliding it under the 2 strings and pulling it through so that I can get it right onto the needle. And again, you have to skip some because there's more than 11 on that side. One thing that's kind of tricky is it wants to roll here, so you need to be turning it back this way so that you can find the edge of the knitted fabric so that you can pick up your stitches right there. It's just like knitting really, but you're not doing the final off jumps jack part. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 2 more. And oh, it's kind of tricky at the end. Oh, there it is. There we go. So now we have a square shape. Here's my end. Here's my marker. So now we need to divide these 12 stitches that we have for the heel back onto these 2 needles. And so I'm going to give these 6 stitches to this needle and these to that one. And I'm going to do that just by knitting them with the same one that I picked up the stitches with. So knit these 6 stitches. And when you get to the marker, you can just take it off because now you're done. That's what that was there for. And now these guys, we can just slip them onto this needle. So now these other 6 stitches we're going to slip onto this needle. I'm looking at the inside of my sock and just slipping them over there. And now we're back to a triangle. Ta-da! So there's the instep And before we start to decrease, we need to knit one time all the way around. So we want to eventually get back to 40 stitches. This one has 20 and this one, these have more. So we're going to decrease in order to get these back to a total of 40 stitches. The first round after we've made our instep is a plain knitted round. Just knitting once all the way around to establish it. And you can tell by the different color of the stitches that this is the 6 that I had slipped over, and now I'm just knitting them as they are part of this row. So I'm going to knit all the way around one time, and then we're going to talk about the instep decrease, which is a little bit tricky. Here is the last of the 3. I've knit here and here. Now here's the last one. I'm just doing a plain round of knitting. And this establishes a nice base for the decrease that's coming next. Okay, so here we are, the last couple. And we are ready for our instep decrease. So there's how it looks. That's what it looks like on the inside of your sock. When you hold it up, you're always looking at the outside, but just so you can see. Here's another one that I was working on for you guys, and just to show you where we are right, we're going to do this decrease right here, these little shorter rows, so that we can get to the body of the sock. On needle number 1 and needle number 3, we have 18 stitches, if that one doesn't fall out. So we have 18 over here, 18 over here, 20 up here, and we have to get them down to 10, 10, and 20, and then we'll have 40, which was what we started with. So that means we need to decrease 8 times on this one and 8 times on this one. Now in the original pattern I gave you, it said to decrease every other round, but you have the option to decrease every round, and that makes a little bit smaller sock that would probably fit a 5th grader. Whereas if you do every other, that makes a bigger sock that would more fit an adult. So where do we do the decreases? This is really interesting. The decrease happens at the end of needle number 1. Do not decrease at all on needle number 2, and at the beginning of needle number 3. So it's pretty simple. If you knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together and knit 1, because anytime you decrease at the end of a row or the end of a needle, you knit 2 together and knit 1. And then this one's different. So I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, coming up on the end of needle number 1, you want to knit until you have 3 stitches left on needle number 1. Then you knit these 2 together, So you put it under both of those stitches. It's a little bit tight, a little bit tricky to get it in there, but if you really tuck it down in the pocket, it's much easier. Keep the needles touching as you pull it through. And then knit one more stitch. Okay. Okay, no great loss. So now on to needle number 2. Here's a trick question. Where do you do a decrease on needle number 2? You don't ever do a decrease on needle number 2. Don't do it. Don't ever do that. Do not do it. All you want to do is knit to the other side. That is all. So again, you want to watch these corners so that you don't get much of a hole in between where the needles meet each other. So here we are getting to the end of needle number 2. Are you going to decrease? Absolutely no. Do not decrease on needle number 2. Don't do it. You can say it however silly ways you can think of, but they're still going to do it. So you have to kind of repeat that one a lot to your class. Okay, needle number 2 is done. Now needle number 3, we are going to learn a little bit of a new stitch. The reason being that when you decrease at the beginning of a row, if you just knit 2 together, it's going to twist them and it's going to look funny. So they have a stitch called slip, slip, knit 2 together. And it looks like this. First of all, here's the 3 that we're working with. We're going to knit the first stitch. And then slip, slip. Slip as if to purl. So I'm going to slip that one, slip that one. And now I'm going to take the left-hand needle and insert it into the front of those 2 stitches that I slipped. Hope that's clear. Run around the back and knit these 2 together this way. So it kind of helps if you use a little bit oblique angle on this to scoop that thread through. And that is slip, slip, knit 2 together. And then you knit to the end of needle number 3. So if you are making a child-size sock, do your decrease every single round. If you're making a little bit bigger sock, then you would do a decrease round, which is what this is, and then a plain round where you don't do any decrease, and then a decrease and a plain, and a decrease and a plain until you have 10 stitches on needle number 3 and needle number 1 and 20 on needle number 2, and then you're back to the original 40. And all you do at that point is knit around and around, but I'll show you when I get there. So this is the end of needle number 3. Now you might, you will for sure encounter times when your student has decreased on one and not decreased on the other, or they forget. And it's just really easy to put it down like this and count it. There should be 17 here and 17 there. If there's 15 here and 17 there, I don't take out all those stitches. I usually just say, okay, don't decrease on this one, decrease on this one 2 times until you get them even, and carry on, get her done. So here is needle number 3. Just wanted to show you how pretty that is. Once you begin your decrease, this is probably about 3 rows. But it just makes this beautiful little shape right there. Here it is again, the slip, slip. Insert that left needle in front and knit those 2 together. Okie dokie. Yeah, you can see it's getting dark. End of the day here. But I wanted to show you, here I've done all the decreases. This one, needle number 1, needle number 2, needle number 3, and I'm on my last decrease of needle number 3. I figure it doesn't hurt to show this slip, slip, knit 2 together a lot of times. Slip, slip, knit 2 together. So slip, slip, knit 2 together is how we do a decrease at the beginning of a needle, and knit 2 together, knit 1 is how we do a decrease at the end of a needle. That's going to come into play again one more time when we go to knit the toes of our socks. But for right now, we have finished this complicated, crazy thing. Congratulations if you've gotten this far. And we are just going to knit after this, around and 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 around. There's needle number 3. So there's that pretty triangle that I love so much. And then we're just going to knit around and around and around and around and around and around, finish there, the whole body of the sock until it's time to knit the toe. And how do we know when it's time to knit the toe? You put your foot into it, and your big toes, your 3 toes, should poke out right here, and then you know it's time to shape the toes of your socks.